I welcome you once again. I'm very happy to see you here this evening, and thank you very much for your interest in that topic. I work for Missio, the Missio Berlin office. My name is Milan Ivic, you heard it already before. I just want to give you some short information about the evening and about the technical things. This event will be recorded, so later on you will have the chance to ask some questions. You won't get taped, it's just your voice which will be hearable. So don't be afraid to ask any questions. You can ask them in English or in German. If it is in German, we will try to translate it. That's basically the most important technical things we have to talk about. Let me start. Every year in October, Missio celebrates the World Mission Sunday or the World Mission Month. And this year our focus is on the interfaith dialogue. I'm happy to introduce to you two very special guests from Nigeria today. Both have been working in that field for many years in Nigeria and have many experiences which they will share with us this evening. Let me introduce to you first His Grace Archbishop Ignatius Kaigama on the left side. Archbishop Kaigama is known as one of the leading religious leaders who seek dialogue with Muslim leaders. The Dialogue, Reconciliation and Peace Center, short DREP, in Jos, which he established in 2011, has been instrumental in calming the ethno-religious conflicts in Plateau State. Since 2015, Archbishop Kaigama has been the president of the West Africa Regional Bishops' Conference, and since 2019, he is now the Archbishop of Abuja. A very warm welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
And on the right, we have His Royal Highness Mohammed Sambo Haruna. He is the 14th Emir of Wase. He was elected Emir after the death of his father in 2010 and has since continued his father's peace work with Archbishop Kaigama. The Emir belongs to the Fulani ethnic group. Before British colonial rule, the Emirs were the absolute rulers of the Northern Territory, which is now known as Northern Nigeria. Through their role as guardians of tradition and religion, they still exert great influence today. Very well, welcome to you as well. My first question goes up to you, His Royal Highness. The film makes clear that on the one hand there are many conflicts in Nigeria, but on the other hand we have many initiatives who work for the peace in Nigeria. What does the current situation in Nigeria looks like? What are the last developments in Nigeria? How would you describe it to the audience?
Good evening. It's a pleasure to be here. I was not fortunate to have seen the film, so I'm sitting on this side and I could not view it. But I've seen the film before. The situation in Nigeria today, honestly speaking, I would say we will take one step forward and like 3 steps backwards. It seems that today everything is okay and something will just come up tomorrow. There are so many factors which we will discuss later in the program, but you give one information today about the situation in the country and tomorrow is something else completely different that is happening. So I don't want to seem to you like I'm lying. Today, like for the past 1-2 weeks, the country has been very peaceful, and you say everything is okay. And the following week, you hear something happening. They say, oh, but last week, everything is so fine. What happened again? There are a lot of factors which during the program I will discuss each and every one of them. So the situation in Nigeria is not something that one can really say, this is how it is. But we pray to God that the peace that we have been having for the past 10 days will continue.
Archbishop Kaigama, the media in Germany often report on kidnappings, violence and terror. The conflict between farmers and herders is often described as a religious conflict. Your Grace, is it a religious conflict? And can we find persecution of Christians in Nigeria?
First of all, the conflict between the farmers and the herders are simply that. They are the conflicts. Unfortunately, religion is brought in simply because the farmers would generally be Christians, and those who look after the cattle would be Muslims. So any little crisis, it's very easy for people to baptize the crisis as religious. And I've always said that that is dangerous because it fuels anger and bitterness from people within and outside. The Christian groups would begin to support their own group. The Muslim groups from within and outside the country would begin to support their own group. And the crisis never ends. So it is wrong to say because farmers and herders fight and they are Christians and Muslims, therefore it's a religious war. We should be able to call the crisis by its name. If it is economic or political or whatever, we should say it so. But to generalize, I call it hasty generalization that gives birth to so many terrible things. It's not generally the case. I mean, if there was a religious war in Nigeria, I think I would have been a general in the army of the Christians. He too would have been very notable personality in fighting that war. But you can see we're not fighting. And there are many Christians and Muslims in Nigeria that interact at a very good level of friendship, of brotherhood and harmony. There is no religious war, but there are religious tensions fueled by ignorance, gross ignorance of what our religion should be and what the values of our religion should be. And this is what we are struggling to resolve. Let's tell people these two religions are not in opposition. They should rather be complementary. And we should tell them that the values of this religion should be lived out practically, and there will be peace flowing like a river. But because we don't live them out, we are struggling for numerical strength, which religion has more members, which religion has more geographical expansion, which religion has more people in government that are influential, and so on. It's always about competition, and very unhealthy competition and rivalry. Our duty is to tell them we can practice religion with sanity, with rationality, and religion will give us so much good. So this is the work we are doing. Many people don't like it. Many people don't support us because they enjoy this conflict. Fire for fire. The Muslims fire, the Christians fire. It's fire all the time. We are saying, no, we are to quench the fire. And we are doing this with all our heart and mind and soul. Then you ask if there is religious persecution of Christians in Nigeria. Again, that is another hasty generalization. I just had an interview with a newspaper and they asked the same question. And are Christians being persecuted or are Christians being killed in Nigeria? I said, Nigerians are being killed, not only Christians. I said, let us be nationalistic, patriotic, and say every citizen of Nigeria that is killed is a valuable person. And we should mourn him, we should worry about his loss or her loss. But to say Christians are being killed, it's not only Christians. If you go up north in Zamfara State, in Sokoto State, in Katsina, many have been killed, many have been kidnapped, who are not Christians. Yes, we have many Christians who have been killed, whether in Jos or in Taraba or wherever. People have been killed, and many have been kidnapped. It's not one side. It's all on both sides. So we just need to find a way of working on this together. And this is why we are doing this, and we have come here to tell you we are doing it. Support us, help us, and we shall do it better. And there will be understanding, there will be mutual respect, there will be harmony, and I think Nigeria will grow forward instead of retrogressing.
In the media, you often read something about Boko Haram. Not the good things about Nigeria. Often I read when something happens about Nigeria. So I read a few months ago, I think, that the Boko Haram leader is dead. What does this mean? Will Boko Haram disappear now? Is there a chance for peace in the north, or how would you think how it's going to be?
Okay. For the benefit of those listening, I don't know whether you are aware, you know the definition of these two words, Boko and Haram. Boko means education. Haram means something that is forbidden. For me to be sitting before you, I'm sure you all can deduce that I am educated. So, and how do you worship a God that you don't know? It's through education that you get to know who your Lord is and how you worship your Lord. If you don't know how to read and write, how will you read the Bible? How will you read the Quran? So the whole thing about Boko Haram is not Islamic. I don't believe they are Islam, they are Muslims, because the things that they do are un-Islamic. And I want to distance my religion from people like that. Islam is not about terrorism. Unfortunately, in every space of life, you have the good, you have the bad, and you have the ugly. In Islam, ours are Boko Haram, ISIS, and the likes of them. But it's un-Islamic what these people do, and we don't support them in any way. The issue of Boko Haram going in the near future is subject to one of the things he mentioned, illiteracy. We depend on religious leaders like us. The populace depend on religious leaders like us to translate to them what the holy books say. The holy books have been made so easy today that in most languages of the world, major languages of the world, these books have been translated. And the people like us who are in a position of authority take advantage of the illiteracy of the people, and we don't just translate what is in these holy books, but we give them our personal opinions of what is in these holy books, which as a religious leader, nobody asks you of your personal opinion. Translate how the word of the book is, how it is said you should worship, your relationship with your neighbors, how you practice your religion, and so on and so forth. But unfortunately, some of us change the meanings of the words to suit our various purposes. Boko Haram will go when we stand up and tell these people who are in authority, the religious, traditional, and political leaders, what you are doing is wrong. This is not what the book says. This is not what the Quran says. When people who are arrested are prosecuted and the rightful sentence is given to them so as to serve as a detriment for others, when things like harassment, sexual harassment, are dealt with, not because he is my staff, breaking the law is breaking the law, irrespective of where you come from, what your religion is, what your color is, which part of the country you come from. Poverty is addressed. Boko Haram is a means of money for some people. It's a means of livelihood for some people. There are interested parties in and outside Nigeria that don't want to see an end to Boko Haram because of the money they make out of it. And there is high level of poverty in Nigeria today. Unless these issues are addressed, there are people who for 1 week survive on only water and what they are able to get from on the streets. And you give them a few amount of money, please go and do this. They will gladly go and do it because they will have enough to feed maybe their families for a week. As long as there's poverty and Boko Haram and other things like kidnapping, banditry is allowed, these things may not come as quickly, to an end as quickly as we expect it to be. It's not that easy. It's a bit complicated because there are so many factors that is affecting this. And while we were coming, I watched a video of our former head of state, General Sani Abacha, a military officer who took over the government in a coup. He made a statement that when you see something persisting for a very long time, people in authority have interests. If people in authority do not have interests, it will not last more than 24 hours.
Thank you very much. This gives us a hint. Both of you try to fight these conflicts with your work. Your Grace, you have already worked with the Emir's father. How did the cooperation come about and how did you discover the interfaith dialogue for yourself?
Well, I was posted to Jos Archdiocese in the year 2000. I had served as the Bishop of Jalingo Diocese, a new diocese created for 5 years plus. And even in Jalingo, there were already ethnic tension, crisis between Tiv, Jukun, Fulani, Jukun, Tiv, you know, there was already that. And I was getting involved, trying to broker peace. But it was very rampant. And, you know, when I was transferred to Jos, I said, oh, finally, maybe I will rest. After 5 years, let me just rest. And I came to Jos, settled 2000, and by the year 2000, there was an eruption of crisis. I said, my God, there is no rest for me. Then the crisis went on, evolved from one thing to another, to then 2004, and then it became so persistent. And I just in conscience could not stay and fold my arms. I just had to do something. I kept asking people, what can we do? What can we do? Calling fellow religious leaders who are Muslims and Christians. Can't we do anything? And we kept doing what we could do, not with anybody's support, not even government support, just as a personal initiative. I kept doing what I could do within my reach. For instance, when the Muslims who were being driven away from their settlement and threatened to be killed and so on ran to my house, ran to the pastoral center, we embraced them and kept them there. We fed them for a number of days, after which I begged the military to escort them back to their families. And I didn't need permission to do that. It is just an act, a Christian act that I should do at all times. So we did things like that, and when his father became the emir, what year was that, Your Royal Highness?
2000.
Was it 2 or 3?
2001.
And 1, okay. It was, I'm sure at the end.
No, 2000. 2000.
Okay, yes.
2000.
Yes. So he now came to visit me. He had heard about me. We had never met. And then one day he came and asked to see me. So I was very eager to know what the emir was coming to me for. So I went and met him, and within the first 5 minutes we started discussion. I knew we had a very strong, we were operating on the same wavelength, and we were all interested in peace among Christians and Muslims. So I knew that right away. And I told him, I am ready, let's work together. And I invited him to my house again, and he invited me to his house. I went to Wase during the Salah. It was very colorful. He is a witness. Galadima is a witness. He was there. So we said we should do something, and that was when we started. And we used to meet, and I would invite some Christian religious leaders. They were very reluctant about coming. They didn't want to. What do you want us to do? These people are killing us. These people are doing this. Why do you want us to? I even invited some Christian leaders to join me to go to the mosque as a sign of solidarity. They wouldn't go. They say, I want to make them Muslims. These are senior Christian leaders. And anyway, we continued with our work, and by the grace of God, we were seen together, and it became common that the Archbishop and the Emir are not only friends, but they are brothers now. And some people even ridicule me and say, oh, these are your brothers, the Muslims. No, they think I'm a Muslim. I said, no problem. So we kept working, and so he gave me his full support. We went to Yelwa when there was a crisis. We brought relief materials, and he was there to address the Muslims and all of us, and I think it had a great impact. Then they began to see us more often together. He would come to my house, and we would sit there and have lunch and do everything. I went to his house. I stayed for 2 days in Wase in his own accommodation. He provided for me an accommodation. I stayed there. So it was dialogue of life. It wasn't just an abstract thing. It was a concrete thing. Rather than, we said in the film, that it's better to speak, to act than to speak. So we say actions speak louder than words. That's what we were doing. And by the grace of God, we were able to attract the attention of the government. And the government decided to constitute a body that we should go on to broker peace and inspire peace among our people. And he and I were also visible leaders. We were the first to be contacted. So we worked together, and very harmoniously, I must say. That was how we came to Germany 2009 and went to other places again, just walking and telling our story, that out of darkness, light will shine. That at the end of the tunnel, there's a light. And people shouldn't give up. Even those who attack us, those who accuse us and ridicule us, we said it doesn't matter. He himself, the emir, told me that people will say, oh, we are only enticing him to harm him, to kill him, and all that. And he said, well, if I will die for the sake of peace, it is all right. And then they tell me, oh, these people, you cannot trust them, you cannot. I said, but for God's sake, can I trust even all Christians? I said, not all Christians are good. They're not all angels. They are bad Christians, they are good Christians. Equally, there are bad Muslims and there are good Muslims. So let us work with the Muslims that are good. So he is the son of his father, and he has taken in totality the vision of his father and that enthusiasm to foster peace. And this is why we got bonded so easily without any problems. And I think we shall go a long way, despite the fact that I have been transferred to Abuja. In fact, it has provided even a broader platform for inter-religious activity. While he is in Jos doing it, I am in Abuja doing it, I go to Jos, he comes to Abuja, we shall continue doing this, and by the grace of God, peace will flow like a river.
Thank you very much. Your Royal Highness, you have now been Emir since 2010. Since the beginning, you have supported the idea and the work of the interfaith dialogue. Was it always clear to you to continue the interfaith dialogue? What does your cooperation look like in concrete terms? Can you give 2 examples of your joint work?
Well, like the bishop has said, mine is an inherited relationship. I met them doing it with my father. And this crisis happened in Plateau and also happened in Wase. And at that time of my late father, it happened for almost 5 years. There was killing. And we lost a lot of villages, we lost a lot of people, and millions in terms of property. As a leader who I just took over from my late father, there's no way I could enjoy, power is very sweet, but not under those circumstances. So I needed the assistance of the Archbishop and to be embraced like he embraced my late father, so that I could have peace in my own domain. It may interest you to know that in my domain, I have 3 religions, not 2. I have Muslims, I have Christians, and I have traditionalists, whom at one point or another, all of us were. Before the religions came, before Christianity came, before Islam came, we were all traditional worshippers. So, I'm sorry if that annoys some of you, but before religion, all of us were worshipping something. So, and I have about 20 different ethnicities in my domain. And we're just about between 500,000 to 600,000 in population. So the diversity is so much. I was coming from the classroom. There's no handbook on how to be an emir. So I needed people who were close to my late father, who could guide and put me through. So I needed him more than he needed me at that particular time. So that's one. I needed peace in my domain. Number 2, as a leader, I told you initially, you mentioned I'm both a traditional and a religious leader. I'm the ruler of Wase, but in the state, I'm the leader of the Muslims in Plateau State. And that is to say, each of the 17 different local governments in the state, in one way or other, I had a hand in those local governments. And the rate at which people were killed during those crises, it was really, really bad. And I had to give myself to the bishop and the likes of people like Galadima, who is also an inherited relationship. And when the election in 2015 they were about to conduct elections. The Archbishop was still in Jos. We called all the political parties that were involved in his center and agreed that this election will hold without any violence. That's one example. All the political parties came. We signed a pact in the center, and we thank God that most of them did as requested, and there was very little violence in the election. That's another example. So we, as leaders, the number one thing about leadership, in my own perspective, in the kind of leadership that we am coming from, is the total number of population that you have that determines your power. So for each soul, irrespective of its whether Muslim, Christian, or the traditionalist, each soul that dies, that reduces my strength. Because don't forget, there are other emirs and chiefs from other places which so that is one of the factors that determines seniority. So I would never want to, even if I don't like the other religions, for the fact that I want power, I wouldn't want any of my people to die. So, and we all know that at the end of the day, we are going to attest for everything that we have done. I'm a Muslim, and I know God gave me that position for a purpose, and at the end of the day, He is not going to ask me to account for only the Muslims, because I was not giving Wase for only the Muslims. I was giving Wase for the people of Wase. And my job is to be fair and just to each and every one of them, irrespective of their faith or their ethnicity. And I'm trying as much as possible so that when that day comes, I'll be able to answer my questions and get a green light to pass.
Hopefully. Perfect. I have a question to you, Your Grace. In the film, which was shown before, DREP was mentioned, the Dialog, Reconciliation and Peace Center. Could you tell us something about what happens there? What the idea is of DREP, of the center?
Yeah, DREP came about as a result of what I would call a personal frustration, because I just saw that crises were erupting, people were being killed, properties destroyed, and seemingly nothing was being done. And that was when I developed the attitude of saying, look, light a candle, and there is little chance that you will see your way around. It's better to light a candle than to cause the darkness. So DREP grew up as a spontaneous reaction to the terrible crisis I was witnessing, and yet there seemed to be nothing being done. And I just told myself, can't we create a center and encourage other people to come and participate in the negotiation for peace? And this center, even though I am the Archbishop of the Catholic Archdiocese of Jos, it wasn't our property. I said, let's build it as a gift to the people of Plateau State, that when there is disagreement, there is tension, they fight, they can come here, and I call it a temple of peace, where they can just come and sit down. My brother, what is wrong? Why are we doing this? In the most cordial manner. And it worked, because we started getting people from different ethnic groups. When there is tension, they come, and they were looking forward to coming. The Muslims and Christians, many times, the chief imam of Jos then, Sheikh Balaru Daud, and many others, they gave me very good support. And so we were seen as people moving in the same direction with the same vision. And the Muslims were happy to come. The politicians were happy to come, even when there were, elections, like he said. And the ethnic groups had confidence. The Anaguta, the Afizere, the Fulani, the Yoruba, the Birom, all were ready to come. So it became really a peace center. And so that was what gave birth to that. And I'm happy it's not a personal project. I didn't do it to my honor and glory. And we made sure it's mixed. Like Galadima there is the vice chairman of the board of governors. So they are involved, and there are many Muslims who are involved. The Hajjah who is there and others. So it's ours, even though it is an initiative of the Catholic Archdiocese of Abuja, and my own particular initiative. I will say it is. We declared it open on Valentine's Day. So I told the people of Plateau, this is my Valentine gift to you. This is the Valentine gift to you. It's yours. Let's walk. Feel free to come here anytime and anywhere. So this is the reason for that, and by the grace of God, we hope that it will survive, and I'm sure it will, by the grace of God. The Emir is there, the Galadima is there, and they will make sure that this project doesn't collapse. I don't remember what you said again. What were you asking again?
It was a question, what happens in that center.
Oh, what happens there? Yeah. So that is it. We just meet. And I remember Alhaji Boro, he told me once, he said, Bishop, if not because of you and this center, I will never come near any Biroman. I will not come here. And when you leave here, I will not come again. Then I told him, Alhaji, this is not about me. It is about all of us. We're trying to heal. We're trying to create a conducive environment. So please come. And I tell you, he became so enthusiastic, and he kept coming. Even right now in Jos, he calls me, Alhaji, calls me to say, Bishop, what is happening with DREP? Bishop, we want to have regular meetings like we used to have when you were there. And I told him, don't worry, things will take their turn, because the new bishop is new. And therefore things cannot be on the same tempo. So I believe that when he has settled sufficiently, when he came to visit Jos, I told him that my heart is in DREP. And he said it himself. He said, of all the projects I showed him, this center, that center, he said he could notice the passion with which I embraced DREP and with which I introduced DREP to him. So he told me he wasn't going to let it die. And I said, please don't do so.
Thank you. Your Royal Highness, I can imagine that your work not only has advocates, but also faces hostility. Is there also resistance within your own community? And how do you deal with it?
Before answering that question, I want to assure the bishop that the new bishop has started taking the path in which you left. He was in Wase for Salah. Himself, the current chairman of the state, the Methodist bishop of the state, and so many others. I invited them during a meeting that we had in the Interreligious Dialogue Committee. I said for our followers to really understand what is going on, they need to see us together, because we are not seen going to places together. I'm inviting because there are 21 members from the Islamic faith and 21 members from the Christian faith. So I asked all the 42 people here, I'm inviting you to Wase for Salah. I will make enough accommodation for all of you. You spend Salah with us, you do the celebrations with us, and you go back. Unfortunately, he did not come that particular day that I gave that invitation, but he came to Wase. So the invitation I didn't even give him the invitation, but he heard the invitation and he came. The people of Wase are quite pleased. When we go home, I will give you the video of his trip to Wase, and everybody say, Kaigama Yadao, Kaigama Yadao, meaning Kaigama has come back. He's I think he's trying, and with encouragement from people like you, I believe that he will continue. Now your question.
Once again?
Your question, please.
The question was whether there's resistance within your own community and how do you deal with it because of your work?
We, like I told you, I double two shoes, two caps, the traditional and the religious. Jos is the center. Jos is the headquarters of the state. I'm 3 hours away. The people of Wase, some of them feel that I am abandoning my major responsibility as Emir of Wase and taking my secondary responsibility as chairman of Jamaatul Nasrul Islam, which is the umbrella body, but that's what makes me the leader of the Muslims in the state, as primary, and leaving the emirship as secondary, because out of the 7 days in a week, 4 to 5 days I'm in Jos. And I want you to understand, which, like I said, one of our problems is illiteracy. Jos is the headquarters. It's either for religious or other purposes, I must be in the headquarters. Because that's where the government is, that's where the governor of the state is, and it's not only for religious purposes, we are called for other things. So I need to be in Jos often, and I'm having some problems at home with my people, thinking that I'm not paying enough attention to the problems at home and giving more attention, like to the state more entirely than the my domain. And secondly, within the Islam, within my brothers, the Muslims, within my royal family, there are still those who believe that there is a hidden agenda behind all this, either to convert me to become a Christian or trying to maybe to kill me or something. There's something, it's just not like that. It's just too good to be true. There must be something hidden that I'm being invited for this. I'm working with the bishop, I'm working with all the bishops in the state, all the different denominational heads of the state. So they seem to think that there is something there that is not visible to everybody. There's a hidden agenda. And for 11 years, I'm sure if they wanted to kill me, they could have killed me. I will be 11 years by the 30th of this month, October. So I've been doing this work for almost 11 years. So if they wanted an opportunity, they would have had at least 1,000 different opportunities to do so. And the more I walk in this interreligious dialogue, the more I have comfort to sleep at night. Because I know for every day I go out, I will have made a difference in somebody else's life. Either by consoling him, or personally giving him food or shelter where he will stay. And now that we are having more support from government, unlike during the time that he was working with my late father, now we have a budget. And it's not much, but at least we have support from government that we do some of the things from the limited resources that government has provided to the Interreligious Council. And now Plateau State is the first state in Nigeria to establish a peace agency. And we are working hand in hand with the peace agency, which I believe Kaduna just copied from Plateau. They have now established their own peace agency. And it has really helped. For the 6 years that this government has been in power, we have had relative peace for 5.5 years. It just started some months ago. And I'm sure it's due to the elections that is about coming. That is why these things are happening. Everybody, the people want to, the people in power want to remain in power. Those that are not in power want to take over power. So there's resistance everywhere.
Thank you. Your Grace, with DREP and your Live Dialogue, you are actively working for peace. What is your vision for Nigeria? What do you wish for the future?
We want a Nigeria where people are happy and proud to be Nigerians, where their basic needs are met, where we destroy the barriers, the artificial barriers that keep us apart. There is no doubt that there's a vast difference between the North and the South. And every group has prejudices that are so unhealthy. There are differences between Muslims and Christians. In a population of over 200 million, we should use the enormous values that God has given us to build a better Nigeria. But we are ready to tear at one another at the slightest offense that is perceived to have been committed. This culture of dialogue is missing. People act on a hysterical basis, irrational basis, sentimental basis. And this is why it's very easy to trigger a crisis. Something that should not bring any conflict. We find out we are engulfed and the fire is burning. And it's so sad. I take an example. There are little things that we should be able to talk about in an enlightened and civilized manner. You know, if you claim that I have abused you, you have to have the facts. But when you just begin to destroy my property and all that, that is not being mature about the whole thing. We have little issues that we could sit together to iron out, but we don't. Let me take the example of the hijab, the thing the Muslim women wear. This was open for discussion in some states, and it became a big problem. And I thought they could just sit together and let everybody explain what we start to benefit from this, wearing it or not wearing it. And they will come to a consensus. But no, they will allow people to be killed and lives to be disrupted. The same thing when we had the Miss World competition in Kaduna some years ago. You know, people were killed needlessly because there was disagreement. The Miss World competition, you know, there was disagreement. So I'm saying that culture of dialogue is grossly missing. And then, because Nigeria plays religion plays a very key factor in Nigerian affairs, people tend to exploit religion and manipulate religion for their selfish interests. It's so unhealthy and it makes my heart to bleed when I see that even leaders at the highest level, whether as governors, local government chairmen, or presidents, the moment they get into power, they only try to protect the interests of their tribe or their ethno-religious group. And so, in the giving of appointments, you find out if it is a Christian president, he would like to ensure that Christians get the best positions. And if he is a Muslim president, he tries to say that Muslims get the best. And this is not helping. You end up with mediocres, people who are not qualified to do the job. But because of religious bias, ethnic bias, you give them the jobs. And that is why Nigeria cannot grow. We are always retrogressing instead of progressing. So I want a Nigeria that serves the people. And I am optimistic we shall have that Nigeria. The young people are disgruntled. They are dissatisfied with the way they are being treated by the elders, by the leaders, and that was why there was the outburst of the End SARS protests. It's a very serious statement from the young generation, and they are going to come back again. Nigeria has all the potentials to become better. We have the resources given to us by God, and we have the intelligent people. I see the young people all flocking out of Nigeria. Today I spoke to a couple in London. They just left 2 days ago. They are looking for greener pastures. Now, they are very intelligent scientists, doctors, engineers, and so on, yet they want to leave. Why? Because of misgovernance, corruption that doesn't allow the wealth to reach the grassroots. And I am hoping that this Nigeria, a new Nigeria, will be possible. And we shall do our part. We pray, we preach, we dialogue, and we keep talking, even if nobody listens. We shall keep talking. We are like dogs that can bark, but we cannot bite. But we shall keep barking. One day, that bark will drive them away, and the new set of leaders will come and give us what we want in Nigeria. So I am a patriotic Nigerian. I love my country. When I go out, they tell you your country is bad, there is so much killing. I say, look, I am a proud Nigerian, anytime, anywhere. And I believe one day Nigeria will rise again.
Thank you for your vision. Let me ask you one last question, Your Royal Highness. The situation in Germany cannot be compared with the situation in Nigeria. Here, Muslims are a minority. Nevertheless, there are prejudices and reservations about the other side here as well. What can you recommend to Germany? Are there any recommendations in the field of interfaith dialogue that you would give the people in Germany?
Yes. Let me tell you something that I was advised by my late father. When I wanted to get married, he said, no, just wait. That has been arranged. I said, but there's somebody that I found and I think that will be compatible together. He said, don't worry, it has already been taken care of. One day he sent me to my in-laws' house. I didn't know they were my in-laws. So I did not meet that his friend. So I met one of the daughters. I gave her the message for her father. I went back to him. Have you delivered my message? He said, yes, but no. I was in the house, but unfortunately, I did not meet him. But I met one of his daughters, Safia, and I gave it to her. He said, oh, your wife? I said, my wife? He said, yes, she's going to be your wife. So, today I have brothers who are Christians because of marriage. I have in-laws that are Christians. In my house today, if a religious war should erupt, I think there will be nobody living in my house because we will all kill each other because it's either I kill my cousin brothers or my in-laws or somebody because, and if there's an ethnic war, we'll all die in my house because it's about 4 different ethnicities living inside the house. As long as we see each other without getting to know one another and get involved with each other, we will never know each other. I now appreciate what my father has done. I didn't like it at the time. But he had foresight to see what was going to happen, the likely things of what was going to happen in the country. And he has helped me. So my appeal is, never judge a book by its cover. Try to read it. You may be surprised. There's a lot that we can learn from one another. And if you look at the basic foundations for these two holy religions, look at the holy books. It is said that God created this world in 7 days. I believe that is what is said in the Bible. He rested for a day. I believe that was what was said in the Bible. The first creations, Adam and Eve, it said in the Bible. We are all products, grandchildren of Adam and Eve. Jesus Christ. You insult Jesus Christ today, a Muslim can kill you because of the importance of who Jesus Christ is in Islam. The things that separate us are not many like the things that put us together. And the only way we can do that is my Muslim brothers here in Germany. Get to know your brothers here in Germany, your Christian brothers here in Germany. There's a lot that you learn from them, and we have more together than what we have apart. And that has opened my eyes to quite a number of things, and I hope you won't have the kind of problems that we have because of you don't have the illiteracy that we have in Nigeria, you don't have the poverty that we have in Nigeria, and you are far more educated and more enlightened and further developed, but still, I still see that there's more that can be done if the integration is done properly and faster. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your words and your advices. Thank you both for the first part of the discussion. I would now leave the floor open to you, the audience. If you have any questions, you can get a microphone from Kathleen Fisser. Maybe you can just raise your hands if there are any questions.
Your Grace, thank you. Emir, thank you very much. I come from Nigeria. And I am in depth in this peace process. In 2000, I wrote my doctoral work on this issue. And Your Grace, I think I'll make it available to you that it goes on. So to say, I don't know how to begin, because as you said, you are a proud Nigerian. And most of us, as colony, are being so shut down with what is happening. And especially when one is outside Nigeria, not confronting this, what you people are experiencing there. I am thanking you too, who are taking the lead in this. Very slow indeed, but I think with what you have explained here, it's going to be fruitful. That is why I want to ask the question. Your Excellency the Emir, what is the influence of this dialogue to your Emir brothers, not only in Jos, but in the whole of the northern part of Nigeria, where this issue of, you can mention, is not only kidnapping, not only, we call it crisis, is happening. Your Grace, it will be to you too, what impact is this issue of dialogue to your brother Christians, the bishops on the whole? How have you weaved it in? You have built a center. Shouldn't it happen in every diocese? You are the chairman of the Bishops' Conference of Nigeria. How have you impacted this process today? And I will still come with other questions, but this.
Can I start? The last time His Grace, the Archbishop, through Missio, gave me an invitation to come, I deliberately asked my deputy, the Emir of Kanam, to come instead of me. That way, instead of me explaining to him, he gets to see it himself. He gets to hear it himself. And since they came, I've seen a new person. I now have somebody that I can walk with. He was baptized when he came. His ideologies, his ideas changed completely because of the exposure he had when he came here. I think you are here in Germany and you are here in Berlin. So I am confident now that I can spend the next 3 months on vacation, knowing fully well that he will take care of the Muslims in Plateau in my absence. We are only 2 in Plateau State. Now, Muslims, traditional rulers in Plateau State. In relation to other parts of the country, by the time I go back, there is a report. Before coming here, because I'm a government staff, I had to sort for permission. And on my return, I have to notify them of my return and give a briefing on my return and each activity that was carried out while we were here. And my recommendations, don't forget I told you that now we have 2 things that we didn't have in the past. Now there is a peace agency in Plateau State. And there is an interreligious council which I am the co-chairman in Plateau State. I will give them my recommendations. That is this aspect. Then the second aspect that has to do with others. I'm the JNI chairman in Plateau State. There are 36 other states there are 36 states in Nigeria, including 37 with the FCT. We have a coordinating body in Kaduna, that's the JNI headquarters, which this same report will be sent, but a little bit different. Because the one that will go to JNI, I need to make it as convincing as possible so that my brothers, the other 35 members, the chairman of the respective chapters of the JNI, will become interested and possibly link them with Bishop Kaigama, who will now in return link them to Missio and other NGOs who he is working with. And I believe that during our meetings, during our interpersonal relationship, because we have relationship with others more than others, based on where we are coming from, based on the dialect. And I want you to understand the major problem being experienced around Plateau or in the Middle Belt is with Fulani, and I happen to be Fulani. So, and there are quite a number of emirs that are Fulanis, which I will now share this experience, which I have done before. The Emir of Kanam, fortunately for me, who is not a Fulani, is a Bogom by tribe, has now done the foundation for me. All I need to go is start building on it. I hope that answers your question.
Okay, well, as for the church, we have been involved in inter-religious dialogue for a long, long time. From the Vatican document, you know that there is a specific document on interreligious dialogue, urging Catholics everywhere to do that since the 1960s. And that has been going on. At the level of the Bishops' Conference, I was president of the Catholic Bishops' Conference twice. I'm not the current president, but you can be sure that during my tenure as a president, we have a full-fledged interreligious department in the Catholic Secretariat of Nigeria with, complete staff working on that. And let me also tell you that we have great interest in Islam. In my seminary studies, I had to do a course in Islam. If I didn't pass that course, I wouldn't have got my diploma. So we had to study the history of Islam, traditions of Islam, and other things. We are interested in Islam, not to defeat or do anything wrong, but to understand them so that we can live together. And we have many priests today who speak Arabic so eloquently. We send them to Egypt. In Rome, there is a whole university dedicated to the study of Arabic and Islam. In Rome, Pontifical University. And we send priests there, they qualify in Islam. They don't become Muslims, but they come back with a better and deeper appreciation of the religion of Islam. And it creates the ground for dialogue. So in terms of interreligious dialogue or relationship with Muslims, I think the Catholic Church, I would say, is in the forefront. Even in Nigeria, when we were talking of dialogue, our people were accusing, are you the only ones? Why are the Muslims not talking about dialogue? Why are they not looking for us? We're always the ones looking for them. And we said, look, we have to do this. And now you can see everyone is talking about dialogue. I told you about the Christian leader who told me, you are wasting time, these people don't care, you can't trust them, you can't do this. And now he is one of the greatest advocates of dialogue. But before, he insulted me and said all kinds of nasty things. But today, he is one of the very important elements in dialogue. So we have come a long way, and we are doing so much. We will never stop. If I was to be discouraged, I would have given up, because people attacked me, ridiculed me, and said all kinds of uncharitable things about this dialogue. But we didn't listen to that, because we are convinced we are doing the right thing. That is the best way we can have peace and progress in our country and even in the world.
Thank you very much. There was another question, I think. Over there.
Thank you, His Grace, for coming and taking the pains to come to Germany. You've come severally to Germany to talk about this. Thank you, His Royal Highness, the Emir. I'm Nigerian too, and as a Catholic priest, I've had the opportunity of working in Muslim region, Yoruba and land, and I've up to today Muslim friends. They are good people. They are human beings. And we definitely have to promote this open heart to accept one another, to live in a country. Either by whatever, if it's a mistake that has been done, that we live in a country called Nigeria. We all know that the problem of Nigeria has different aspects of it, and whether it's going to succeed even up to today is one we continue to ask ourselves. Thank you, Your Grace. You could say, I'm a proud Nigerian. Many Nigerians can't say that today. When we see at the level of corruption, at the different levels, when we see our youths roaming the streets, they graduate and they have no work. When we see our government doing nothing, absolutely nothing, sitting on seats and occupying positions, and definitely not accomplishing anything. Most Nigerians today cannot proudly say they are Nigerians because of the things we hear and it's happening in Nigeria. The level of corruption that is involved in every level, even from the kitchens, from everything, is all about corruption. So that you even doubt when somebody is telling you the truth. So we even suspect even the peace dialogue you are saying, you are doing, whether it's even successful, is going to realize anything. Because when I will ask, are you sure, are you really convinced it's going to be, when you look at the forces you are going to fight? When we take Plateau, for instance, since 1955 and all that, there have been a movement, even Islam movement, whether you know it, which has been sponsored by Saudi Arabia government. And they are sponsoring and strategizing their people and putting them in government offices and positions. And they are all about Muslims. Okay? We here come up and we are promoting dialogue, sure. And we are trying to promote peace. And they are politically strategizing, investing money, training their people on this direction, and putting them in strategic positions of governance. If we look at the list of appointments in Nigerian government and Nigerian system, you will shock of what is going on. And we see them really growing and building networks and investments done over years. They are right today in very important positions in the Nigerian government, in the Nigerian resources. Call up NMPC, that is the oil, the industry that produces all the wealth we talk about in Nigeria. Go to the list and see the list of appointments, the leadership of that NMPC. Just look at it. How many Christians are there? So when we talk about dialogue, what is the end and peace? What is the goal of it? When the people you are really promoting peace and dialogue, they have a different tactics altogether. The Islam movement, we know, is strong in Plateau State. Started in Plateau State. It's up to today. The Wahhabism, which also metamorphoses into what we have into the terrorist groups today. We have also this crisis going on with the farmers and then the cattle rearers. Even as of 2 weeks ago, people died. 30 people died in southern Kaduna. And majorly, many of them I believe are Christians. So, call it every day in Nigeria, somebody, 2 people, 3, 4 people will die out of whatever. Mixed issues. They will not be religious issues, but ethnic issues. But most of them, political failure from the leadership. So how much this dialogue is even going to lobby the government to make sure they are getting into position to be able to talk from authority and not from the sidelines. That, okay, it's a little thing, it's a little thing, sure, I congratulate you for that noble job, but how much more? And what is the strategy of growth? When you look at the forces you have to work against, that's stronger. And they are looking up to today, they are meeting and doing their own plans and strategizing their own positions in the government. Thank you.
Yeah, Father, you seem to belong to the group of Nigerians that is so angry at everything that is happening, and in the fit of anger, they don't even know what they can do to help the situation again. It's either you run away or you just get so angry that you get consumed by your anger. I have chosen not to run away. I have chosen to stay, to rough it, no matter how tough it is. And I told you I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. It's not going to be overnight. And all these things you talk about, injustice and so on in government, and the appointments are one-sided, I am more aware than you, because I know what is happening. We have complained a lot. Even in this present government, we say nearly all the security chiefs are either northerners or from the Muslim religion. Nearly all, except one. And then all the very prominent positions in education, NUC, all those. We talk about this, and we have said it in our community. It's not something private. We say it. We are not happy, but what do you do? If your mother gives birth to you and she's so wicked, everybody will run away from her. Will you also run away from your mother? The mother is your mother. Nigeria is my mother. She gave birth to me. She might be so much in trouble. I will have to stand by her and make sure that something good comes out of that country. If we all decide that it's so bad, let everybody just go away, I tell you, it's not going to work. And remember that even where you are living in Europe, they also had their trials and challenges. They didn't just grow up to be a nation state overnight. If it is civil wars, ethnic wars, religious wars, they fought them bitterly, either in Germany or Italy or Britain, in Ireland and all that. They had to go through this. So it is our moment of purification. We are going through this. It's not something we love, but we are going through it. By the grace of God, we are going to reach somewhere. Remember, we only got independent in Nigeria 60 years ago, 61 years ago. 61 years ago. When you are talking of Germany, where you live perhaps, they have a long tradition of democracy and development, scientific, technological development. We don't have that. So we need to be patient and take it gradually. But if we become so angry, we just want to tear ourselves apart, and the North and the South, the Igbos, the Yoruba, the Hausa, I tell you, it won't go. We just need to dismantle sentiments and come back to reason, not to run away. Some can go away and walk, of course, but not everybody to go away. So my dear brother, there is a lot that we can do for our country, but not in anger, not in bitterness, not in hostility. It's with calmness and with less emotions or sentiments. I tell you, there is so much that will come. If not during my time, it will come after our generation. Emir?
I'm afraid to comment. I'm afraid to comment. Mm-hmm. But my dear brother, you see, the whole thing about being together is compromise. When I became Emir, and we were in Nigeria, and you made the statement that you just did, I'm sure my people would have beaten the hell out of you. But we're in a more developed society, and I'm more matured, and my people are more matured. You see, it takes two to tango. That's what the white man says. And there are very different ways you can view this glass that contains some amount of water inside. If you ask this gentleman, his perception may be a bit different from this young lady who is sitting by my left-hand side. What is good for you is equally good for me. Let me give you an example of Plateau State. You have mentioned the federal. Let me give you an example of Plateau State, where about 35% of the indigenous or the people living in Plateau State are Muslims. Where you have the governor who is a Christian, the deputy governor who is a Christian, the speaker who is a Christian, the secretary of the government who is a Christian, the chief of staff who is a Christian, the head of service who is a Christian. Out of 17 commissioners, 15 are Christians. Out of maybe 30 permanent secretaries, 25 are Christians. Do you see a balance in it? Sometimes you are looking at it from the federal government. I'm at an advantage. When you come to Plateau, I'm at a disadvantage. It's high time that we stop what we are doing and give each other, or give what belongs to Caesar to Caesar. You want justice, but you don't do justice where you are in majority. How do you expect justice? There's need for a balance. Show me an example that, yes, you are just, and I will be just to you. The time of Jonathan, was it the same thing? Jonathan was a Christian. Majority of the security agencies were headed by Christians. The appointments of the NNPC were headed by Christians. Do you expect a different thing from a Muslim? It's what you do. Jonathan just left. Buhari took over. Did you hear us complaining when it was Jonathan was ruling? We did not complain. It was your time. I'm not saying that is justification for Buhari to do the same. But as long as you are going to complain about Mr. A, you should also do it in comparison with Mr. B. It was Jonathan who just left. It's exactly what Jonathan did that Buhari is doing. So my dear brother, let's forget about all these things and let's sit down. If we are going to share the cake, let's share it in half and forget about all these things.
Thank you very much. Is there one last question? The lady in front? And then we have to stop because of the time. So this will be the last question. Floor is yours.
I would like to ask the Archbishop a question. Could you please elaborate a little bit on the elections of the archbishops in Nigeria, how this works?
The elections of the archbishops.
Who decides who becomes an archbishop in Nigeria? Because the Chinese Communist Party is now deciding who becomes a bishop in China, not the Pope anymore.
Sorry?
Because in China it's different. The Chinese party.
Okay.
Decides who.
Yeah. Well, there have been communists, should we say, for a long time. So the church there is regarded as a hidden church, an underground church. They don't have the freedom to relate to the other parts of the world, not to the Vatican, so they are hidden. And even their bishops and priests operate in hiding. And they decide that they will nominate their bishops, consecrate their bishops by themselves. But in the tradition of the Catholic Church, you don't make yourself a bishop. No government makes a bishop. It is just the successor of St. Peter, which is the Pope, who nominates, confirms, and appoints a bishop. And so, if a bishop is a Catholic bishop, he must have been appointed by the Pope. And the Pope issues a decree that he is appointed and he can be ordained anywhere in the world in the presence of 3 bishops, let's say. And so that is done. We don't campaign for it. We don't lobby. You just do your work. And when there is need for a bishop, then they ask around. Where you have worked, people will be asked, who do you think can do this work? And in absolute confidence and secrecy, they submit their answers. And you will be surprised to see how democratic it can be, that from north, south, east, west, they may be talking about the same candidate, or the majority responses will be in favor of 1 or 2 candidates. And then they zero in on these candidates. They make more research, and then send the results to Rome. They study very critically the personalities involved. And when they are satisfied, a committee in Rome is satisfied, they recommend to the Pope that from our investigations, very serious investigations, these candidates can be nominated. And maybe there are 3 presented to the Pope. He decides. If it is number 2, he says, I want number 2, number 3 or 1, depending. Anybody he touches among the 3 becomes the bishop. And that is when they announce that a bishop has been appointed. So we don't, the government doesn't get involved. The church doesn't go on a protest march to say, we need this bishop, we don't need that one. No, it is the Pope, and that is the tradition of the Catholic Church. Until they change it, maybe, but if they don't change, that is how it has been for centuries and centuries.
Thank you very much. We're coming to the end of the event today. I would like to thank especially the Archbishop and the Emir for their time, for their valuable work and their commitment to peace. Thank you for sharing your experiences with us today. I would also like to thank Katrin Fisser and Angelika Hirsebein. Without you, the event could not have taken place today, so thank you very much. And last but not least, I would like to thank you all for coming out today, for your interest in that topic, and I hope we could show you another phase of Nigeria which is not often heard of in the media in Germany. So have a good night, and thank you very much.